Hey guys, Jennifer Dixon here. Today I thought I would talk about a pose that we don't practice too frequently in most yoga classes. And I'm honestly not sure why, but the thing that I've been trying to incorporate myself is instead of just doing lots of the same poses in forward and backwards, but basically, because that's what we're trying to do, is try to incorporate full range of motion to all of my joints. And this particular pose is one that I feel like gets us moving into our hips in a way that we don't normally do. So normally in a yoga class we do lots of hip openers, so we're doing things like pigeon or maybe a figure four pose, and I'll do videos on those shortly. But this pose I love to do because it actually, instead of your hips going out, we're focusing on an internal rotation of the hips, which helps to lengthen out the back part of the leg, so it helps to get into the psoas a little more. And I personally love to stretch my psoas because I worked swing shifts for years and years, 12-hour shifts where I sat for 12 hours at a time. So my psoas, my hip flexor muscles basically are chronically tight. I've only been off shift for, I guess, 3 years, and you'd think that it would be better now, but it's still, they have a tendency, their natural inclination is to tighten up. And when my hip flexors tighten up, my low back hurts. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one, because Americans today are more sedentary than ever. And that's kind of the first thing that happens, is these guys tighten up, which forces a lot of stress on the low back, and now we've got low back issues. And so today, I want to talk, in yin they call this posture deer pose. It's different in yin than it is in restorative, and I'm not going to get into that today. But I think like in some of the workout worlds, they call this 90-90. And what you're basically trying to do is get a 90-degree angle in both knees. So I'm going to start here with my left leg. I turned my knee in. Do you see that? So most of the time we're turning our legs out like in a pigeon pose. Here I'm turning it in and trying to sit up into it. My right leg is also at 90 degrees. So, I'm already feeling it here in this left side. So this leg is trying to work towards 90 degrees, and this left leg is also trying to work towards 90 degrees. This can be a pretty intense posture, especially if this front of thigh, this hip flexor, is tight, which mine is. So things that you can do with this pose: you can just hang out right here, because trust me, ladies and gentlemen, this is an intense pose. You can juice it up by leaning into it or twisting into it. So belly's in, straight back, lean into it. And trust me, this is intense. My body doesn't like it, and I immediately stop wanting to breathe, which obviously is not ideal, right? So remember to breathe. You can also twist away from it and lean into that right leg, which provides a little bit of relief to that hip flexor. I'm actually really, really thankful for that relief at this moment, because that left hip flexor is uber tight. So here we are leaning into the right leg, which has got the external rotation. Come up, lean into the left leg, which has that internal rotation in the hip. Holy moly, keep that foot engaged, keep that at that 90-degree angle, and you see I can't really twist or fold into this very much. That's all I've got. You may have more, you may have less, that's okay. You can put the left hand behind your back to help to support you as you lengthen here, belly in, and twist into it a little more before you press into it. Whoa! All right, let's do the other side. Beforehand, I might have to do a little bit of windshield wipering, because that hip is talking to me. So now, right leg is internally rotated to 90 degrees. Left leg is externally rotated to 90 degrees. Here I am, hanging out here, hoping and praying that this video doesn't take 10-15 minutes, because I tell you what, these guys don't like it. Remember, we've got options. We can lean into that front leg. Provides a little bit of relief for the psoas, but it's still a nice stretch up here in the obliques. Nice, belly's in. Or you can twist into that right leg. Try to remember to breathe. Try to keep the belly in. Try to keep the spine in. And maybe we lean into it. Notice I can barely lean into this side. This is definitely a challenging posture for me. I can do pigeon all day long, ladies and gentlemen, but this deer pose, whew, holy mackerel. It's so good for you, though. So good for you. Remember to breathe. Remember the chest is proud, belly's in. You see how I'm forgetting all of these things? I normally cue whatever it is that I'm forgetting to do because I'm like, oh yeah, if I'm forgetting, somebody else is forgetting to do it too. So, twisting into it, twisting away from it, folding into it, trying to sit up straight, keep that belly in. And then to get out, I'm going to lean back. Ooh, before I do that, I'm going to just enjoy that stretch too, because that's also another way that you can enjoy this posture. What that does is it helps to get the stretch a little bit further down the quad. Whoo! And into that maximus, the gluteus maximus. All right, so windshield wiper those knees. And now feel how nice and juicy those hips feel, right? Like we've just opened them up in a way that's not normal, not typical. And your body's like, woohoo, hallelujah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about this internal rotation of the hips and how it can provide some space for the low back as you get to moving in your day. You can do this at any time. You can do it in bed before you get out of bed. You can do it in bed at the end of the day. If you ever have a chance to just sit down and you just want to play with this, you can do it as a dynamic stretch forward and backwards. I like to do dynamic stretching when I'm not quite as warm, which is kind of the opposite of like a yin class. A yin class wants you to get into the pose and hold it like a static stretch for 3 to 5 minutes. That's intense stuff, ladies and gentlemen. So especially since this is such an intense posture for me, I like to do this one kind of dynamically, which means moving it forward with breath and backwards with breath. And then as I've warmed up, maybe at the end of a class, I can get in there and hold it. Either way, do it. Just move. Get into the full range of motion of your joints. We want to keep moving because an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So I hope you join me as we stay in motion together. And until the next time, namaste.